In this video, I'm going to share with you what I know about migrating an existing EDW platform over to Databricks. So imagine you have a big data warehouse platform or ODS or something like that, and you want to get that over to Databricks. Now in this video, my examples are going to show you what happens if that platform's in SQL Server, but really it could be in any one of these products and it would work the same. I'm also going to share with you a product called Lakebridge, which is something Databricks acquired last year. They took an existing product called Lakebridge and rebranded it, and that product can also help you in your migration journey. But that's just part of what I'm going to show you. I'll show you a few other things too. So this is your typical EDW architecture, enterprise data warehouse, where on the left you have these data sources. They might be Oracle or SQL Server data sources. They might be Salesforce or Workday. It might be, all sorts of different weird systems that you have, maybe even CSV someplace. And then in SQL, we would take SQL Server Integration Services, which is a competitor to Informatica, and stored procedures, and we would use these things to move data from left to right. So our raw data or staging area where we're landing data and we don't really change it that much, and then we'd use SSIS and stored procedures to move it over to ODS or staging over here. This would be like our operational data store where we might begin having like customer crosswalk tables, or we might have like a dates table, or we might have like a unified employee list or something like that. And then we'd use SSIS and stored procedures to move it over to star schemas like data marts or aggregate tables or cubes or something like that, where we would do math and we would summarize the data and we would get it into a denormalized form where we could consume it, and we would consume it in like Excel or SQL Server Reporting Services or Power BI or just random things here and there might be consuming it. Yeah, so what are we going to migrate? We're going to migrate the data structures like tables and views. We're going to migrate the data, the contents of the tables, right? We're going to migrate SSIS packages and stored procedures and just random queries. And all of that needs to be migrated over to Databricks with the goal of turning all of this off and saving on both the hardware that might be running this and the licensing that might be running it, and just the maintenance effort to keep it up and running, which these are typically really hard to troubleshoot and keep up and running, right? So most people, when doing a migration strategy, would begin converting this from left to right, meaning if in the EDW they had a SQL server that they landed into a raw or landing area, that's usually a SQL Server database, then in Databricks they would go to the same SQL server and then they would land it in Databricks. And then they would continue to work left to right, slowly getting all of this into Databricks, and then at the end of it, they would put users on it by putting Power BI and SSRS or whatever Excel in on the system at the very end. And I believe you should not do that. I believe you should convert from right to left, start at reporting and work backwards. So that means that from the very beginning, you're going to try to get the data marts over to Databricks, and then you're going to put users on it immediately. How would you get the data marts over to it? Well, you could just use EDW as a source if you wanted to, right? You could just start migrating from the EDW SQL Server and move those data models over to Databricks, and then just turn that on and put Power BI immediately onto Databricks and build all your new reports in Databricks, and it'll be like your old EDW is a source and Databricks is the destination, and now you're just using it immediately. Why would we do this? Well, putting users on the system early de-risks the entire project. So if we go from left to right this way, this is like a 6-month project. And now anything could happen that would kill this project, right? You could lose funding, you could get acquired, you could get a new CTO, you could have a million different things in a 6-month project that would stop this from succeeding. But if you put users on it early, now users are on it, they're not just going to immediately kill it. You've now taken that off the table, and now users might love it. And all the reasons for using Databricks might start getting into effect, right? You could start using AI BI Genie. You could start using, the Databricks notebooks. You could start using all the cool different Python tools and things like that to use it. Like, there's a lot of reasons to use it. You can start doing it immediately. Users love it. Now no one's just going to kill the project out of hand, right? Also, if you go from left to right, you could make mistakes that don't get caught till the very end. If you go from right to left, you could catch those mistakes early while users are on it, and now you've proven that the technology actually works and that your assumptions are all getting worked out and that your mistakes are getting worked out early. So imagine if you work from left to right and you make a mistake here and you don't find out in 6 months, you might never go live. You might constantly be reworking your mistakes over and over and over again, and it's just delays, and now this project doesn't look like it's being professionally managed, does it? So no, you want to go from right to left. Trust me, it's a much better path. The greatest thing you could start doing is using the concept of a foreign database or an external database in Databricks right away. So rather than creating a pipeline from EDW over to Databricks, right? Instead, you could take the data mart database or staging or raw, and you can create a foreign database in Databricks that's external. And let me show you how you do that. I'm going to take you over to Databricks real quick. And here, we have this concept of a connection. So you go to Catalog Explorer, you go to Connections, and you create a connection. If it's SQL Server, you have a URL, you specify the application intent, you have a port, you have a username and password, you put all of that here, right? And then once it's there, you just create catalog. And create catalog, you can name it. I prefer to name my catalogs with external underscore, so external underscore dynamics, external underscore Salesforce, external underscore whatever, right? It could be, whatever weird line of business application that you have there. And then it says type is foreign, and here's the connection that you're using, and then the database that you're using. And then you test it, and boom, now you have a database that's actually SQL Server, but it is in your Unity Catalog Databricks ecosystem. And what is happening here? Let me share with you what's happening, okay? If you're a user and you use Spark SQL or PySpark or whatever on the foreign catalog, a Databricks compute cluster translates what you're doing to Transact SQL, goes to the SQL server, grabs the data, hands it back to you, and so what is happening is that all of your requests are going through Unity Catalog and the Databricks compute cluster and getting translated. Why would you do that? Well, it allows you to put users on a system early, although I would highly recommend that you don't put users on the system. I highly recommend that you are very careful before you put users on a foreign catalog. If the foreign catalog is EDW, it's perfectly okay to put users on it. If the foreign catalog is like the SQL Server source, like let's say it's Dynamics or it's some line of business application that's running on SQL, do not put users on it. And the reason why you're going to avoid it is analytical queries tend to be table locking. So you're doing a lot of math, right? You're saying, give me the total sales for this product, or give me the total sales for this location. And that typically scans the entire table and does the math. Well, if you're doing that on a foreign database that's EDW, that's totally okay. But if you're doing it on a foreign database that's a SQL server, that's a transaction system, you might stop taking transactions because you're scanning the table and making these big math calls. So when you use foreign catalogs, what you want to do is use it for the data engineering purposes, do it for the conversion purposes, and then convert things over one thing at a time. Unless the foreign catalog is EDW, then it's totally okay to put analytical queries on it because that's its purpose, right? It knows it's going to be doing table scans and these really big queries, so you're totally fine doing it. All right, so what are the foreign catalog advantages and disadvantages? Well, it now lets you move one thing at a time. You don't have to work from left to right. You can decide what you're going to move one thing at a time. It lets you immediately put users on Databricks. It lets you compare data structures And let me show you that actually. So what I mean by that is, let's take a look at this query here. Okay. So do you see this select customer ID name from this, like, this is the catalog, this is the schema, this is the table, right? Except this column list from external Dynamics DBO customers. What are you doing here? You're saying, give me all of the records that are here that are not here. And if you reverse this and put the except underneath it and this query underneath it, right? You're saying, give me all the records that are external that are not landed. And why are you doing that? It's because you're comparing these two data structures to find out if there are any customers that don't exist in one place or the other place. And this is possible with foreign catalogs, right? So imagine that you begin to land Dynamics data in Databricks directly from Dynamics. So you have a foreign catalog and you want to know, did your pipeline actually work? Well, you can compare these two things. So you could actually have two foreign catalogs, right? You could have a foreign catalog to the original Dynamics transaction server. You could have a foreign catalog to the EDW landing server. And then you could have your real catalog in Unity Catalog, and you can use except to compare what you have in Databricks compared to the original source and what you have in Databricks compared to what you have in your legacy EDW system. So you can see why foreign catalogs would be hugely valuable here. Okay, remember that it charges both Databricks compute and SQL Server compute. So you don't want to be doing this forever. You're doing this during your migration. You're going to get charged for Databricks. It de-risks the migration, but you're getting double charged. So you're doing this for the duration of time until you're completely off of EDW. And you can move those workloads completely over and turn it all off, right? It's slower because you're introducing another system in the middle of it. And it puts a CPU and memory load on the SQL Server. So like I said, a word of caution, don't put analysts on foreign catalogs of production ERP or LOB systems. Analytical queries lock and use scarce IO CPU and network resources. Remember, analytical queries will lock the whole month, year, or everything, right? So if you load up a transactional system, sometimes these transactional systems will have read-only secondaries, or they'll have like HADR secondaries, or they'll have like a logship secondary. If that's the case, then make the foreign catalog the secondary system that nobody's using. Like if it's for a disaster recovery, use the secondary node that is only there for failover. You can use it. So you use it, and now you've de-risked hurting the primary LOB system with your queries. That's an awesome strategy. And all that to go back to this diagram, which means if you have these foreign catalogs and you have your real Unity catalog catalogs, that allows you to migrate these things one at a time. So you don't have to like grab every single stored procedure or every single SSIS package and migrate it all at once. You now have the freedom and flexibility to be surgical about what you migrate and when you migrate it. And that is very, very powerful. Now, let's talk about the nuts and bolts of actually migrating one thing at a time, right? So you're going to migrate a stored procedure, you're going to migrate a bunch of SSIS packages, right? Let's talk about Lakebridge, okay? So Lakebridge is a product that uses GenAI to help you migrate these components in a logical fashion. And this is not intended to be a Lakebridge video, but I did want to share with you a couple of things about it. First, let's just talk about the analyzer. Okay, so the analyzer is a command line tool, and you just install it using a pip install. You just say like pip3 install Lakebridge, right? And it'll install it. It'll bring it down. It's just a pip package that you can get anywhere. And then once you've installed it, it's just Databricks Labs Lakebridge analyze. And then what are you analyzing? So there's all kinds of things you can analyze. You can analyze Oracle or Teradata or Snowflake or SQL Server. In my case, I want to analyze SSIS. So what did I do? I went to my source code repository. I cloned SSIS down. I brought it to a source directory. In my case, my source directory is source code EDW. And then I want it to build a file. Now, I had a ton of SSIS packages that I added to this, and it took a very long time to analyze, and I'm not going to share with you. I'm not going to just sit here and make you wait for it to analyze, right? But what you get in the analyze step is this report. And it's super cool. It will tell you how many packages are easy to convert, how many are medium to convert, how many are complicated to convert. And then it will break these packages down and tell you which exact ones are low, which ones are medium, which ones are high. Why is that cool? Well, if you have a large team and let's say you've got some interns, you can put them on the low complexity package. If you've got senior engineers, you can put them on the tougher ones, right? And it will take each one of these packages and it will break them down for you. It will say, here's the different transformation types that you have. Here are the ones that are supported. Here are the ones that are not supported. This is very powerful. It helps you in planning. It helps you in estimating. It helps you in scheduling. It helps you in delegating. And it helps you just to like put your mind around, everything that you have that you might need to convert. So if you want to do it for your SQL objects, you want to open up SSMS. You could open up like programmability. And if you right click on a stored procedure, you can go to script stored procedure, as a file, and you could do it one at a time if you wanted to. But there's another way to do it, and that is right click on the database, script the database, and then script to a file. So you're basically scripting all the tables, all the stored procedures, all the views, all the triggers, and you're putting it into one giant file. And then you could run Lakebridge on that one file, and it will analyze the database just like it analyzed my SSIS packages for me. That's a trick to like get those things analyzed without having to have all these objects in some kind of source control repository or something, right? So you can also use Lakebridge to convert. It's a similar CLI command line. It doesn't convert SSIS, but it will convert all of the SQL store procedures if you want. But you can also just use, GPT to convert too. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. You can also use it to validate. You can tell Lakebridge, hey, this is my old server. This is my new server in Databricks. This is my new catalog in Databricks. Did the objects move correctly? And frankly, you can also do that part yourself, but you can also use Lakebridge to do that. Lakebridge has a tool that they've put in their documentation, but they haven't released yet, called Profiler. What this will do is it'll query a bunch of DMOs or something like that. Actually, I don't know for sure what it will do. I'm assuming that's what it does, but I don't know. But what this will do is it will look at the active query history and system usage on your current system, and then help you migrate what it's seeing on the server itself. So that means it'll look at the activity. So you might have queries that are not being done in SSIS or not being done in SSRS or something else that you could use Lakebridge Analyzer to use, right? You might have queries that are just random ad hoc queries from different people and you don't know where they are. Profiler will help you identify those things on a specific server. But there's another way to do it. This isn't out yet, so let me show you a different way to do it. In your SQL Server tooling, there's a tool called SQL Server Profiler. And if you connect this to a SQL Server and run it, you have to be a sysadmin to do this, by the way, it'll start collecting events in real time. So what you would want to do is do this in the heat of the day. So if you're hot between like noon and 4 p.m., then run Profiler between noon and 4 p.m. and it will collect, a million queries that are being run. Now, what you should do with that is take those queries into a CSV file, give it to GPT or to whatever LLM you have, and have it summarize those queries for you. Hey, what's going on? And you can interrogate the file using GPT. You can say, which query is the longest running? Which query is being run the most? Which query is being run the least? Which one do you think I don't know about? And GPT will answer those questions for you. So that is a great way of understanding exactly how that EDW server is being used so that you can prepare a migration path for the things that you don't know about, right? It's a way to catch the things you don't know about. And GPT does a great job of summarizing that CSV file that Profiler creates. Yeah, so that's it. These are some steps to run Databricks and Lakebridge. I thought you'd want to see those steps that I showed you already. I told you about generating scripts and how to convert stored procedures, how to convert SSIS. You could do it the same with SSRS. You can do it with those ad hoc queries. And that's it. So My consulting company loves doing migrations like this. We'll migrate to Databricks from any existing EDW, from Teradata, from Netezza, from Snowflake. If you would like help with a project like this, let me know. Reach out to me. We have all sorts of ways to accelerate you and de-risk this and get this thing running in production as quick as possible. Hopefully this helps you. Thanks. Have a great day.